What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Destiny 2 and give some of my real opinions about the game based on what we've seen, what we've heard, and what we've played. There's been a lot of conversation, controversy, and kind of dismay regarding Destiny 2 so far, which of course is fine in its own right. I haven't said too much about what I think until now because it was clear from the start that Bungie were being kind of very conservative about what we should see and know about Destiny 2, at least in the early stages. So I wanted to give my overall impressions, but also talk about what's important and where Bungie may or may not be delivering on that in Destiny 2. Heads up though, internet, I'm a big Bungie fan. Straight up, my channel, or this community, which is a better way to describe it, are also huge fans of Destiny, but that doesn't mean that we can't recognize the failures and missed opportunities with the game. It's easy to think of us as fanboys, which I really hate that term, but regardless, we've really been Destiny's biggest critics, both constructively and non-constructively. So everything in this video is just my opinion. I don't expect anyone to agree with me, frankly, and there have been very few arguments which I entirely disagree with, which I've heard people spoken about. So let's just keep it constructive. We essentially all want the same thing. The term Destiny 1.5 has been kind of bandied around a lot since Bungie revealed the game, with complaints that the game just looks the same, it's simply a repetition of what we've seen previously, and to a degree, yes, it is, because despite Destiny's downfalls, there's a lot which it gets right, and that has been proven after nearly 3 years. The community is bigger and more vibrant than ever. People have invested an incredible amount of time into this game because of its undeniably fantastic gunplay, the mechanics, its stickiness as an investment and social game, a competitive and cooperative game, and a game steeped in its own brand of kind of mystery and storytelling. These are elements which, for the community, have to be truly preserved in Destiny 2, but they're also probably reasons why other things don't happen. If I take the side of the Destiny 1.5 argument for a moment, there has been nothing truly groundbreaking that we've seen about Destiny 2 yet. It didn't launch by showing off ship combat or travel with an entirely open solar system featuring 10 or 16 player raids with public matchmaking. You know, those are just examples, but I'm saying there is nothing truly unexpected about Destiny 2, and that makes it easy to understand why on the outside, Destiny 2 looks like more of the same. However, on the inside, for people who did invest into Destiny for a long period of time, there has been a lot to get excited about, and I think Bungie have been pretty loyal to us here, and have spent time on what they know they can deliver and improve, as opposed to trying to produce some flashy overhaul of features, such as the ones I spoke about, you know, in order to try and market the game or create some unrealistic hype. Bungie are taking the story way more seriously in the sequel. The focus is on delivering a narrative with relatable, fleshed out characters and events which make us feel more attached to the game world, and they're doing it on a huge scale, beginning with disastrous events that will take us through multiple worlds, discovering new characters and fortifying existing characters with a real sense of progression. Unlike Destiny 1, we're not just going to be thrown into an existing world wondering what the hell is going on. From what we've seen, we're going to be a component part of building a new hope. We have a real understandable purpose now, and in my opinion, from what we know, it looks like the story is a revamp worthy of the title sequel. It's an important foundation for an evolving world. In Destiny 1, we had these fantastic spaces, but they didn't really feel appropriately populated. Patrol missions were very basic, and there was little real purpose to exploration on the most part. Throughout the life cycle of Destiny 1, they used patrol spaces for more interesting and different things. We had new events, and eventually we did get kind of treasure hunt type quests, kind of like the Galahorn quest. In a lot of ways it improved with Destiny 1, but with Destiny 2 we have much more densely populated spaces with actual maps, hidden dungeons, and public events with some kind of replayability, even with secret triggers and things that become featured over the course of weeks, unlocking even more secrets and gear. Things like actual treasure maps which grant some of the coolest gear in the game. There are even additional story quests which you need to do to unlock your subclass abilities, and then there's much bigger kind of focus on additional story chains where you learn about planetary specific lore, characters, history of those places, and this is stuff that unlocks over time, but just as importantly, the content is now a real part of your progression and kind of leads into the end game. You're going to become more powerful by completing any of the content in the world spaces, and that is huge. From what Bungie is saying, there is enough content in these spaces that you can now think of patrol and visiting the world spaces in general just as importantly as completing your weekly raids, PvP, nightfalls, whatever it is. And like I said, this has been wasted potential for such a long time. If you just look at the IGN footage of Nessus and the kind of map, having had a taste of the space in the beta, I'm probably most excited about the use of story and questification in the world spaces. Patrols also have such a fantastic social element as well, which I think is really unique to Destiny. You have these kind of bursts of action which interrupt quieter moments where you just have a conversation with someone in your party or even someone in the same room as you. It's a different version of Destiny's kind of social experience. As far as other content goes, they've put a lot of focus into PvP and making it a better experience on the whole. It takes some adaptation, and right now it's still being tuned, but from what I've played, the gunplay and gameplay in general still feels incredibly good. There is a bigger focus on team play in the game, and there are some mixed opinions about that. For some people, the game feels perhaps a little bit more difficult now, particularly if you're playing solo, and there have been teething issues with the beta, particularly with the reception for PvP, but I think what Bungie are doing here is again kind of trying to lay a foundation for a better experience, but one that they have more control over. We've seen pretty tame weapon balance on the whole in PvP and PvE, reduced abilities and ability power, whether it's grenades or your actual super, and I think tame is about the best word I can use for how things feel based on the beta version. However, this means that Bungie can make things feel more powerful one step at a time and kind of try to get things right, you know? In Destiny 1, out of the gate, it felt like the approach was, how can we make Guardians feel powerful? Massive Nova Bombs in PvP, which you might get 2 or 3 times a game without too much effort, grenades which decimate players, aggressive movement modes, shotguns exploding shells into a target as you reappear from blink animations, unstoppable titans cutting through the air in front of you to deliver shoulder charges which literally disintegrate targets. I mean, that stuff felt pretty good, right? And I don't think anyone can really deny that, but before too long, the cost became apparent and balance was kind of a point of frustration forevermore. Of course, what we've experienced from the beta is older now and it's still being tuned, but I think this is why it's healthy to think of things in a different way. It's a different approach. Again, the key is creating something you can genuinely improve and not laying all of your cards out on the table from the get-go. And this is why I'm pretty hopeful about PvP for the game, but also balance and the way that they tune the game. Finally, I spoke about the social experience in Destiny and how important that is. There are many opportunities which seem to be being taken through means of the content on its own, but also we have guided games coming. Now, matchmaking for raids was something which a lot of players wanted through Destiny 1, and the feeling of being locked out of content is something which I think drove many players away. However, in my personal experience with raid content and helping people complete raids, I can safely say that matchmaking, while capable of getting people into that endgame content, would also have caused significant frustration because raid content in particular is complicated and lengthy, and as Bungie have said, throwing a bunch of random players together into that experience is not going to produce great results. And more often than not, it would probably leave people feeling kind of shafted. Now, guided games is more of a curated approach to that, where solo players can jump into an existing group that need an extra player or are just willing to help someone out. This is huge because it'll help build a bridge for so many players, granting an opportunity to find like-minded people who are actually willing to help. It avoids some of the randomness of LFG sites as well. Sure, it's not going to be perfect, that is to say that you're going to bump into assholes on the internet, right? But it's a major step for a very huge number of players, probably more players than any of us actually imagine. And so, to me, these are the positive things about Destiny 2. They're just some of the bigger picture things which need to be right in order to build upon the experience. I love discussing all things Destiny related, but I also think it's important not to be too granular about finite details, or at least not to jump to conclusions about them right now. I've been trying to think of weapons, abilities, balance and the content in the game from the perspective of what is the scope here? How do the foundations leave space or grant opportunities to improve? Because like it or not, that's where we're at with this kind of game. You can't ship a game as ambitious as this and get everything right. It's a fact. Sure, you can pack a bunch of stuff in that you know people will enjoy, and I believe in Bungie. I believe that they have never understood that better than they do right now, but on the other hand, some things cannot be simulated or perfected based entirely on experience or even a beta, you know? With a game like Destiny or any evolving world RPG, MMO, whatever flavor it likes to call itself, you're making an investment as a player when you buy a game like this. There is a decision there. Do you believe in this thing? I think it's kind of a scary prospect in a few ways, but it is a factor. It's kind of in the nature of a product like this. However, what Bungie have shown to me looks fantastic. There are just improvements across the board, and I've never been more excited about Destiny. Never. Sure, I have plenty of concerns, but it's early days and we simply don't know how any of this will really feel until we're playing it. That's just my opinion right now. As I said, you're entitled to yours, so I'd be curious to hear what you guys think in the comment section. If you have enjoyed the video though, a like is very much appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more Destiny 2 content going forward. For now though, you guys have an awesome day.